Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Wayne's World of Science Technology. Today we're going to talk about the Russian fuel situation again. Karl has been asking me a lot of questions about this. Unfortunately, they're questions I can't answer, and let me explain. For years, millions of years, humanity got by with muscle power. And then, of course, we learned how to control fire, so we added fire to our capabilities. That was the only types of energy available to us. Then we learned how to manufacture steam power plants, which gave us a different way of using the energy we already had from wood, that was for fire, and then for coal, and then we moved to oil. Each time, moving from wood to coal gave us a density increase. In other words, you're getting more power out of the same density of material. Moving to oil gave us even more power out of the same density of material. This is all simple stuff. I mean, it's basics. So, to operate these days, you have to have energy. Whether that energy is electric, in the case of some equipment that's out there, it is actually, we are seeing electric equipment on the battlefield. Believe it or not, there are tanks out there which have auxiliary, they have a diesel engine, but they also have an electric power pack, which means the tank can sit there with the engine off and therefore not radiate any heat, but still be capable of moving and firing. The problem is with what's happening in Russia right now is that they're very heavily dependent on fossil fuels for energy. I mean, let's face it, everybody is. It's just the way things work. We've standardized for the last century on fossil fuels as our, well, actually close to 2 centuries, with fossil fuels as our go-to energy source. Russia's entire system is set up around fossil fuels because everybody's is. It's just the way, it's just the way things have been working. We're starting to see a shift away from that, more green energy production, stuff like this. And quite frankly, electricity is a lot more efficient than anything else. I mean, oil's more efficient than coal's more efficient than wood. So what's happening is every time Ukraine hits a plant, a refinery, it knocks out part of the Russian supply chain until that part is repaired. Some of the plants were built in Russia by Russians and use all Russian parts. Those ones are relatively easy to repair. Some of them were built in Russia by Western companies using Western parts. Those could be damn near impossible to repair, at least up to the original standard. You could, of course, MacGyver stuff to get it working. It might not be as efficient, but at least you get something out of it, which is what I'd be doing if I was Russia. Now, the problem with telling you exactly how long things are going to last is, A, I do not know how many times the Ukraine will be able to hit Russian refineries. That's a big question. If they could knock out every refinery today, the Russian Federation would grind to a stop within 2 or 3 days. They just don't have enough fuel in storage. Nobody does. The entire fuel system around the world relies on constant input. Nobody stores enough fuel to keep going for very long. Okay, yes, I know that the Russian Federation has a big diesel fuel storage for the military, but that doesn't do very much good when it comes to fueling the factory, the trucks to get the equipment from the factory to the front, does it? Yeah, I mean, it's like the U.S. military has a huge diesel repository. They don't have enough. Now, while I don't think Russia has a lot of extra capacity, when I say a lot of extra capacity, I'm quite sure that they do not have a secret mega refinery hidden away somewhere that they can bring online and supply all their needs. Somebody somewhere would have noticed that. People have been watching Russia like a hawk ever since 2014, and satellite imagery shows a lot. So, what they've got is what we know about, probably. It's very unlikely they have anything else. How much of this can Ukraine destroy? I have no idea. I mean, for all I know, tomorrow Russia's going to roll out a brand new air defense system that's got a 100% drone interception rate, and they're going to have enough of them to cover every oil refinery. Extremely unlikely, but it could happen. I got no way to tell. And nobody else does either, because nobody knows what they've been working on in secret. Well, except for maybe a few intelligence agencies, and those guys just don't bother telling me what the hell is going on. So I can't analyze what I don't know about. The Russian situation, if they cannot stop Ukrainian drones from hitting their refineries, is going to get worse. What also is not helping is the tax on the railway infrastructure. While they have pipelines to a variety of places, they do not have a lot of pipelines into Ukraine, which is where they're burning a lot of fuel at present. Since they don't have a lot of pipelines into Ukraine, they have to truck stuff or run it on train. And that's where Ukraine is also targeting it. They're trying to hit the transportation to prevent the fuel from getting to the front. Now, the guys at the front can still continue fighting as long as they've got bullets in their weapons and grenades and all that. But if you can't get fuel to the front, odds are you're not getting munitions to the front either, or food, or water, or anything else. You know, fuel, energy is an absolute necessity. So what's going to happen? As I said, if Ukraine can keep on hitting the refineries, eventually they win. How long will that take? Early this summer, I predicted that the war would last another year. That was before Ukraine started hitting the refinery infrastructure. Hitting the refinery infrastructure has shortened things. How much? I can't tell. You know, as I said, if Ukraine could knock out 100% of the refineries tomorrow, Russia would be out of the war within a week. But they can't do that. They don't have enough drones. So, you're basically asking me questions that I just cannot answer, Karl. I mean, I wish I could. I really wish I could, because I want to know what the hell is going on myself. But I only know so much. I only can go with what information I have, and I just don't have enough information to give you a better answer right now. Anyways, that's it for now, folks. Like, share, subscribe, and all that guff. You got something of it, and have a good day.